Welcome back to KSFY. This week we're talking about Amendment C that talks about marriage in South Dakota. And Robert Regier is from the South Dakota Family Policy is one of our guests. And John Hoadley from South Dakotans Against Discrimination is our other guest. Again, thanks for being here tonight. I want to switch gears to the kind of the social implications of this law. And I guess this might get more to what you're talking about, John, about flat-out discrimination, I think, from your perspective, because you hear a lot of talk that people want to define marriage because they're anti-gay. I guess is the way to put it in a lot of cases. I'm not saying either anybody that's sitting here right now is that way, but that's one of the things you hear a lot about when this issue comes up. Address that a little bit.
Well, I don't think that when we talk about marriage, a lot of people are trying to be mean-spirited. We have places like the United Methodist Church, which thinks that marriage should be between a man and a woman, but they're also against Amendment C because of the second sentence that's trying to prohibit all these other things, these civil unions, domestic partnerships, and this made-up term quasi-marital relationships. I do think, though, that it sends a message that a lot of people aren't welcome in South Dakota, and not just gay people, but really talking about all the other people that are affected as well. When we looked at other states where this has happened, we've seen real results that have affected that aren't just what people wish would happen, but what actually happened. Places like Ohio, where judges are starting to say that women who aren't married don't have the same domestic violence protections as a married couple. Places like Michigan that are saying that families shouldn't have health insurance, and that's directly affecting kids. And we can wish all we want about what this said or what we wish it did. We have to look at the other states and see what it actually did to know that this is a bad decision for South Dakota.
Robert, your thoughts on that?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily, it's anti-gay or anti-anything, it's pro-marriage. And what this really boils down to is what is best for our children. Homosexual marriages or civil unions, domestic partnerships, create, by definition, motherless and fatherless families. We have 30, 40 years of social experience to tell us how detrimental it is to kids to grow up without a father or to grow up without a mother. You go to the state penitentiary and look at how many of those men grew up without fathers. And I think intentionally setting up relationships and the state giving sanction to relationships that deny children the ideal opportunity to have both a mother and a father is harmful, and not just to the children but to society as a whole. John throws out these, again, these Chicken Little scenarios about happening in Ohio and Michigan. Those things are not happening in most states. They're very rare, will not happen in South Dakota. Domestic, women in Ohio are still protected by the rest of the laws. There's still assault and battery laws, and women are getting protections there. The problem there is with their domestic violence law, which is poorly written, and they're working that out in the courts. South Dakota's domestic violence laws are much different and cover pretty much anyone who lives under the same roof. Will not be affected by this amendment. All those other scenarios will not be affected by this amendment. This just protects marriage.
John, I know you want to respond to that.
That's not true. The reason behind the Ohio decision said that if you create an effect similar to marriage, then they can't be constitutionally valid. And so it wasn't the fact that there's a difference in semantics in the law between Ohio and South Dakota, which are incredibly similar, but it said that by recognizing an unmarried relationship, a straight unmarried relationship, as the same as a married relationship, they couldn't do that. And I think the problem is that first Rob is saying it's just about protecting marriage, and then he says it's about children and whatnot. And for the life of me, I can't understand how making sure that some families can't get health insurance or that they're not going to be able to receive those basic legal protections helps kids if they're in those situations. And what it comes down to is that Amendment C gives the government just a blank check to interfere in our personal lives and ask those really personal questions. What's the nature of the relationship to see if that you're going to be protected under the law or not? And if it's two widows who live together, I don't think they should be put under that sort of scrutiny, or if it's just two people who live down the street. That is something that we don't need in South Dakota, and a no vote keeps things the way they are right now.
All right, we've got about a little bit less than a minute left in this segment. I want to ask each of you maybe give a 20 or 30-second response of your why people should support or not support Amendment C. I'll start with you, Robert.
Well, women are not going to lose protection under the law, domestic violence laws or otherwise in South Dakota. Seniors are not going to lose their Social Security. People are not going to lose their health care benefits in South Dakota if this amendment is passed. It doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. What this prohibits is the state from treating homosexual couples the same under the law as my relationship with my wife. They're not going to give away the benefits of marriage and rights of marriage to homosexuals under this amendment. It's the way it is now, and it'll be that way forever hereafter if we pass this amendment.
All right. John, your thoughts?
You know, what Rob reads into the amendment, what he wishes it said is not the same as what it actually says. And so when it comes down to it, you know, a no vote is the only way to keep things the way they are right now. If you think that good neighbors shouldn't discriminate against, intentionally against gay people or unintentionally against people we care about, like our senior citizens and the women, just like what happened in Ohio, we need to know that a no vote keeps things the way they are right now. If they wanted to just protect marriage, they would have done a one-sentence amendment. The second sentence is the problem, and that's why good people are voting no on it.
All right. Thank you both for being here tonight.
Thank you.
When we come back, video lottery, another big issue on the ballot. We'll be talking about that. Stay with us.